And today, we are jumping headfirst into some pretty murky waters. Accusations of corruption leveled against Canada's Environment Minister, Stephen Guilbeault.
Yeah, and it involves a lot of money. We're talking like $250 million in government funding.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money. And the big question here that we're going to try to unpack is, did Guilbeault basically use his position, his seat in the government to improperly funnel some of this money to a company that he personally benefits from?
That's the accusation.
That's the question, right? And along the way, we're going to be talking about things like green slush funds.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're going to be talking about the RCMP getting caught in a legal gray area.
You don't hear that every day.
We're going to be talking about a frustrated auditor general. So there's a lot to unpack here.
This is a good one.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
All right.
So the article kind of starts off by focusing on a conservative member of parliament, Stephanie Kusi.
Yeah.
And she seems to be the one who's really been pushing this narrative forward.
Right, and she's specifically calling out a program called Sustainable Development Technology Canada.
Yeah.
It's often just called SDTC.
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 Right.
Yeah, so what is it? It's essentially like a venture capital fund that's backed by the government, but instead of investing, in the next big tech company or whatever, they're investing specifically in companies that are working on clean technologies.
Okay.
So you're thinking like green energy, you're thinking waste reduction, all that good stuff.
So basically they're trying to spur innovation.
Right.
In the field of clean technology.
Yeah. Yeah, and trying to help Canada, reach its climate goals and all that stuff.
Okay. So on the surface, this sounds like, a good program trying to,
Yeah, a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah, a worthwhile endeavor, trying to do something good for the planet and for Canada.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Where's the controversy?
Well, the controversy is that there was a large investment made from this SDTC program to the tune of $254 million.
$254 million.
That's a lot of dough.
That is a lot of money.
And the allegation from Kusi is that Guilbeault basically steered this money to a company that he has a personal financial stake in.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's where it gets a little shady.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if that's true, you're talking about serious ethical questions, right? Like conflict of interest, maybe even using public funds for personal gain.
Yeah, using your position to enrich yourself.
That's a no-no.
Which is, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
So that's a big if, though, right? Like, are there any detail, are there any proof? Has she provided any concrete evidence of this connection between Guilbeault and this company?
Well, that's where things get a little bit murky because no, not really. She hasn't come forward with like smoking gun evidence, but her and her fellow conservatives, they are pushing really hard for full transparency. So they're demanding every single document related to SDTC's operations. So like who made what decisions, what criteria did they use to decide who to give money to, and, is there anything in there that links Guilbeault to this particular investment?
Okay, so basically they're saying, show us the receipts, show us how this money was spent, who made the decisions, and we'll be able to see,
follow the money trail.
Yeah, exactly. Follow the money trail, see if there's any wrongdoing. But now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember something about the Auditor General. Like, didn't she look into SDTC at some point?
Yeah, so Canada's Auditor General, Karen Hogan, she actually recently refused a request from a House committee to conduct another audit of SDTC.
Oh, okay.
And her reasoning was basically that it wouldn't really uncover anything new. So now how do you interpret that, right? You could see this in two ways. On the one hand, it suggests, well, maybe there really is nothing to hide. Like the previous audits that were conducted were really thorough. They didn't find any wrongdoing, so why do we need to do another one?
Right.
But on the other hand, you could also see this as a lack of willingness to really dig deeper, especially given the seriousness of these accusations.
Yeah, so it could be, she's doing her due diligence and there's nothing there. Or it could be that they're trying to sweep it under the rug.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So that's the Auditor General.
Yeah.
What about the Liberals themselves? Like, what are they saying about all this?
Well, unsurprisingly, they're pushing back pretty hard against all these accusations. So MP Karina Gould, she's kind of been the voice for the Liberal defense. And her message is basically, look, Kusi's claims are completely misleading. There's nothing to see here. And the government has been fully cooperative in providing all the documents that were requested.
So basically they're saying we've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
We've been transparent. There's nothing to see here. Move along.
Move along, folks.
But here's where I think things get really interesting.
Okay.
The RCMP is now involved.
Oh,
So the RCMP is now in possession of a whole bunch of documents that were handed over by the House of Commons. And Commissioner Mike Duhame, he's expressed some concerns about this.
yeah.
And basically what he's saying is that, they're obligated to review all these documents, but he's worried that some of this stuff might actually fall outside the scope of, a typical police investigation.
Yeah, it's like an awkward legal gray area that they've been put
Yeah,
into.
it's like a political hot potato
Right.
that's been tossed right into the RCMP's lap.
Yeah, exactly. And they're kind of stuck in the middle, like they have to look into it, but they also don't want to overstep their authority.
Yeah.
It's a tricky situation for sure.
It's a mess.
Mhm.
So let's just take a step back for a second and remember that while these accusations against Gilbo are they're serious,
Mhm.
they're significant. As of right now, they are unproven.
Right, we're talking about accusations and, political back and forth. There's no court case, there's no guilty verdict or anything like that.
Right. And we should avoid jumping to conclusions until we have all the facts.
Definitely, yeah. Innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so where does this leave us? We have accusations of a potentially compromised green initiative. We have the conservatives and the liberals, pointing fingers at each other, and we have the RCMP kind of caught in a crossfire.
Yeah, it's a mess.
So what does this tell us about the challenges of, trying to balance these ambitious environmental goals with the need for ethical behavior and public accountability?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, this whole case really highlights the need for like really robust oversight mechanisms, clear ethical guidelines, and maybe even a whole rethinking of how we go about funding and managing these big environmental programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think this deep dive has definitely left us with more questions than answers, but that's what makes these things so fascinating, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It challenges us to look beyond the headlines and really consider all these complex realities of politics and ethics and the environment.
Yeah, and think for ourselves, right? Like, what do we think about this whole situation?
What do you think is going on? Who do you believe?
Yeah, where do we go from here?
Exactly. So yeah, a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
It's been a pleasure, as always.
and we'll see you next time.
CR